Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Behind the Seams podcast. Today, I'm really psyched to have Commissioner Chip Allen and Deputy Commissioner Justin Sellers from the Coastal Plain League. For those of you that may not be familiar with the Coastal Plain League, it's one of the premier summer college baseball leagues in the country, covering the states of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Every year, hundreds of college baseball players congregate at the CPL from some of the most elite college baseball programs in the country to play ball for the summer. It currently features 14 teams, with many of them playing in former minor league stadiums. Teams in the CPL play in front of large crowds, as league attendance has averaged above 500,000 fans over the past several years. In addition, to date, the CPL has nearly 1,750 alumni drafted, and 167 alums have made their major league debut. As some of you may know, we've entered into an agreement with CPL to provide remote training services for their athletes this summer. This is a great opportunity for both us and for the guys to not only develop their skills on the field, but also continue to develop off the field in preparation for the following season. And I'm really psyched to talk a little bit about that because I think it's pretty groundbreaking. So welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me. I'll let you guys first introduce yourselves because there's two of you guys. And let's start with you, Chip. Tell us about yourself, and then we'll go to Justin.
Chip Allen, Commissioner of the Coastal Plain League. This is my first year. I came over from the Durham Bulls, where I spent a decade handling the business side of the organization, everywhere from tickets to sponsorship and everything in between.
Justin Sellers, this is my 22nd season with the league. Started when I was in college at NC State and kind of as an intern, and grew up from there. So become kind of, I guess, the CPL historian, if you will, as well as seen it grow from much smaller across really 3 states to the expansion into the Georgia market and to what it is today. And just happy to be here and happy to be working with Chip, and as we identify ways to grow and get better and become the best. That's our mission.
So obviously, since this isn't your first rodeo with the CPL, I'll let you go first. Let's get your version of it. Tell us about the Coastal Plain League, a little bit about what it is and what it does.
Sure. So we're a college summer wood bat league with college players coming from all over the country, even some international guys that come in now. And they work to get developed both for their individual schools that they go back to after the summer season, but also get preparation for what lies ahead at the next level in the pros. So they'll come in. We run it very similar to minor league baseball compared to some other summer leagues out there. We feature strong facilities and travel by charter bus, and we run it with game promotions and sell tickets and sell souvenirs and sell concessions, just like what you would see, probably comparable to Nunzio at the single A level in a lot of our markets. And so we started out with 6 teams in Eastern North Carolina in 1997 and slowly grew our way across the state of North Carolina into South Carolina, added in Virginia around 2000, 2001, and then up into Georgia in 2016 to enlarge our footprint. And as you mentioned earlier, it's done well both from a market standpoint with providing family-friendly entertainment but also heightened quality baseball. With the number of guys that we've had come through and debut at the next level, we're averaging about 12 major leaguers right now a year, which gives you kind of a testament of the product. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
What I think is really commendable and interesting is that 22 years with the same league. In my experience of dealing with baseball, guys go in and out of leagues and go in and out of teams quite frequently. You've seemed to manage to hang on 22 years in the same league. And that's kudos to you, dude. What do you think attributes to you not jumping around so much?
I've been passionate. I'm described as a passionate individual. Tend to be loyal. So I, started as an intern. I fell in love with the league, saw the potential for it to grow and become the best. And that's kind of been my mantra, if you will, to see it, one day when when it's all said and done for me, whether it's retirement or good Lord calls me home, I want to be able to say, hey, look at it and say, hey, the league became the best. When I started in the league, nobody knew who we were. We had to go to trade shows a lot and get asked the question, what is Coastal Plain League? Now it's not the case anymore, and we're right up there in the same sentences as the Cape. And so continuing to grow it, Nunzio, and see it become the best. I do believe that it can become. We're not there yet. We always have room to improve, and Chip's guidance and leadership is helping us with that, get to the next level. But I do feel that we will get there, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Frankly, I treat it like one of my kids. I love it. Once you find something that you love doing, you want to be a part of it and continue it.
I don't think he's been hanging on. I think he's been helping drive that change, driving the success. He's a huge part of what the CPL has become and why it's become what it has.
Nobody sticks around with something that is not progressive. We all know if it's the same old, that gets old and you start to look for new things. If you're constantly changing, like I'm 17 years into this business right now, we're constantly changing. And if it wasn't constantly changing, I would be doing something else, to be quite honest with you, because smart people like to be challenged and like to progress. And the fact that you've been around for 22 years means that there's been progression in this league, and there's been things that you've been doing that are adapting and are being cutting edge. And we're going to talk about some of those things. Chip, next question is geared to you. I believe there was an ownership change not long ago. Can you tell us about that? And what changes can we expect?
So Capital Broadcasting, which if you're not from the Raleigh-Durham area, you may not have heard of, but it's kind of a smaller conglomerate. We've got TV stations, radio. Started out as a TV station, radio stations. There's land and real estate, and the Durham Bulls, and the Holly Springs Salamanders, which is part of this CPL, and now the league itself. So, kind of interesting story is that we thought about buying the league because it was being talked about being for sale. And I think the ownership has this love affair with baseball. The Bulls have always been kind of this part of the company that they just love. It's one of those things in life that you do because you love it.
Right.
We were able to do quite well and make some money at it and all those things, but it was because of love of baseball. As a matter of fact, Jim Goodman, who is probably on his two sons have kind of taken over the business, but he's still involved. But his son, so Jim and his son Michael have this relationship, and it's strongly based around baseball. So Michael Goodman, his youngest son, is a fanatic about baseball, loves Duke baseball, loves the Bulls, loves Holly Springs, and loves kind of what it does in the community. And Capital Broadcasting's a big part of their mission is how can they enhance communities, how can they make it better, and that's not just from a sports side, but that's just from a TV side, radio side. And it's a very progressive company. I think if I have my facts straight, they were the first TV station in the U.S. to do digital. And I think they were the second radio station in the U.S. to go the digital route. So they think in progressive terms. And so the kicker for the league was we were searching through stuff, and I don't remember who found it, but somebody found one of the baseballs from many, many years ago. And it was the grandfather to Michael, Ray Goodman, was the commissioner, and he had his signature on the ball. Once they saw that, they said, "Oh yeah, we're in. This is it. We're buying a league. We're buying a league." And kind of that vision of what that league looks like, you kind of alluded to it. I mean, really, we want to be what minor league baseball was 3 decades ago, where you had unbelievable play between the lines, but you had such an amazing fan experience in the stands. And it's a place like we want to be known as where the community goes. So we bought the Holly Springs Salamanders 5 or 6 years ago, and I was down there for the first year, and we were interviewing people to come work for the games, game day staff. And my first question a lot of times was, well, why do you want to work here? And I got an answer multiple times that surprised me. I just never thought about it this way. But they said, well, this is where people go to be seen. We want to be, where the action is in Holly Springs. This is where you go. And I was like, wow, okay. But that kind of is what we want to do. We want to create that atmosphere where fans love coming out. It's not just because it's great baseball, but it's great entertainment in the stands. It's great entertainment around. It's where you bring your kids because you have a night off, or mom's out on a ladies' night and dad's got the kids, and well, let's go do something, right? It's easy, it's turnkey, it's fun, it's entertaining, and there's great baseball. So that's the fan side of it. That's and how do we get involved in the communities? That's a big part of how we look at it. How can we help? We did a program with the Bulls, what was called or is called the Durham Bulls Youth Athletic League, and it's for the inner city kids, and it started out as baseball, now it's soccer and basketball, and it's about giving back to those communities. And we will continue to do the same from a league level, but also as more teams come into the fold, we'll do it with those teams. But on a player side, what I think we have the opportunity to do is create. So when you think about where the summer wooden bat league experience fits into the baseball journey, it's a part of it, right? These kids are trying to go from, little league on up, and ultimately most people's goal is to get to the pros and to the show, right? So we're part of that baseball journey. And I think one of the things that maybe is missing a little bit for a lot of players is they come out and they're going to get their reps and they're going to get their pitches, but how are they getting better? And so there's a couple things. We want to be innovative in the way we do this. And one of the reasons that we join with you guys is because, wow, right, if they're coming and they're losing weight or they're losing speed or whatever it is, we're not sending them back to their programs, their college programs, in better shape than when they got here, right? And I think it's hard, right? Because they're college kids and it's their summer and they're thinking about all sorts of things. But part of that journey is we want to make sure that they have all the tools to not only come out and get those swings and get those pitches, but it's how do they get better? How can they be better from when they started in May to when they go back to their school in August? Are they markedly better? Are they ready to compete for those starting positions? Are they ready to move on to the next level? And so part of that is strength training, right?
100%.
I mean, it's a huge part, and it's diet. But there's another part that we're working on, and we should be able to announce it soon. It's the mental game. Baseball's a big part of physical and a big part of mental. And so we're trying to combine those two, where we have mentalists and mental performance, just like we have physical performance that we're doing with you guys. We're going to do mental, where kids can have the opportunity to really figure out how to overcome a lot of their obstacles, things that are holding them down mentally, just like we're doing it with you guys physically. So it's trying to create a player that is 100% coming and leaving better than when they got here. And I think that's how we're looking at it. And we want them to be as successful as possible, make it onto the next level, and ultimately fulfill their dream.
I have a lot of access to Division I and high level college coaches. And when I have discussions with them about the summer, when a kid needs really his velo's not happening and he's a freshman or a sophomore, a lot of guys are opting now to send him to my place for the summer, realizing that maybe they just get some reps in at a local league so they can grab this strength training, because they're realizing that strength is such the limiting factor. But the great thing about this is there's guys that actually, these same kids need to get reps. And if they're at a high level school, you don't want them playing in a local league, getting their reps against local guys. But a lot of times coaches are starting to now forgo the actual competition part because they're realizing strength training is so important. What you guys are doing is you're in a high level league where they're going to get those reps in. And now you're incorporating this strength training into your program instead of letting guys run free, in the gym, goof around. Maybe they make it, maybe they don't. And I think it's really filling in a huge blank. You know what? This is going to make college coaches, it's going to make them want to send their guys. It's going to make them want to send their guys to this league, because now, not only do you know they're going to send their guys to get good reps, high quality reps, but they're also going to get really good, high quality strength training at the same time. And one doesn't have to forgo the other in order to make it happen. So you've really taken this by incorporating like legit strength training into it, which is like really great.
Yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am to partner with you guys, because you're right. That's a missing piece. Is we kind of just we didn't take this part of the baseball journey as seriously as we could, from a player standpoint, and that's, everybody's guilty of that, right? It's summer ball. This is part of that journey, and how are we going to make them better? And I think for those that go on to play professional, it helps, obviously a huge part with that, but it helps develop kids into good young men and all those things beyond baseball, I think is important too.
You send a guy out to the league to get his reps in. Great. He gets his reps in. He gets high quality reps in. And then his strength training sucks for the summer. He's eating bad. He's dehydrated. And then all of a sudden he comes back to you in September. And yeah, he had his reps in, but he's lost 19 pounds and his arm is hanging because he hasn't strength trained correctly.
Right. And that's why it makes sense. Well, if you're going to do that route, you might as well just go send them to strength training and don't worry about the
Exactly.
reps.
But now we can do both.
You can absolutely 100% do both.
And we always have, and I don't understand why more people haven't grabbed that, but you guys jumped on it. How would you broadly characterize your objectives as a summer league? How do your teams and your coaches balance the development of your athletes versus winning?
Very good question. I would say, it's a unique balance in summer ball because unlike in spring ball, where you've got days off, in summer we're playing every day. So getting in that development tends to be more on a one-on-one basis through the evolution of the week as it goes on, both pre-game as well as during the game, and probably a little bit more coaching during the game than typical because you don't have those practices,
Right.
that all you're doing is 3 hours of practice. These guys are playing at night, they're traveling, they get home, they go to bed, they get up, have some breakfast or lunch, and do some strength training, then show up to the ballpark and either get on a bus or they're playing there that night. So it's a very small window for you to be able to work with each one. And I think our coaches try and do that more on an individual basis than a team approach, differently than what you probably would see in the spring. That said, obviously the competition level here is very high. You've got a lot of guys, and especially now, Nunzio, that the game has changed so much. Even just college baseball in general, and college sports for that matter, with the player portal and things like that. So you have this other wrinkle that's thrown in where guys are, they may be at XYZ school and now they're going into the portal and they're looking to get into a better program. So they're coming into a summer league to showcase what they have. Whereas in the past, if they were at a North Carolina State or a Penn State or something like that, they're there and they're not worried about it. Now there's oftentimes guys that are now in the portal that are coming in and taking that bull by the horns to try and show off what they have, and get better. I think from our end, there's a fine balance of matching the wins and losses, but at the same time, because everybody likes a winner, right? But at the same time, harnessing the development. And I think, that is where things like this partnership with RPP and you and Ram is very key for us, is that takes the development focus to the next level and now allows us to put that at the forefront for these players to say, hey, yes, you're going to be playing against competition, and competition breeds success. It helps you get better if you're challenging yourself versus playing with a bunch of kids that are, in a different class than you are as an athlete. But now we can take you to this next level in your development and really, to your point, focus on an area that probably is lacking in most college leagues.
When I sat down and I started to think about the programming for your league, and you had mentioned your guys are playing nights, they're on buses, they're driving, they're traveling. There's a lot of traveling and there's a lot of games. We took the standard off-season 5-day model. This is actually almost an impossibility for a baseball player to strength train 5 days a week while he's playing games every day and traveling. We took the 5-day model and we patterned it out. So we divided up the volume. And instead of having upper and lower splits, we decided we were going to give guys 3-day-a-week workouts where it's full body. It's a lot easier for these guys to plug and play where their workouts are going to be when they've only got to fit 3 in. And I think it's really important for anyone else and any other college athletes that are playing this summer. I wouldn't try to get a 5-day workout in when you're playing 5 days, 6 days a week, you're going to overtrain, and we get stronger and more mobile during rest periods. So we needed to take that into consideration, and we're going to implement a 3-day-a-week full body program with you guys. So take all that traveling into account. You get a day off. That knocks one of those 3 days out already. Chip, when coaches are considering the summer league to send their athletes to, what should they be thinking of when considering the CPL? And Justin, this is also for you. We'll let Chip go. If you have anything you could chime in with, bring it on.
It's always kind of that rule of, when I was brought up, it was when you get something, you want to give it back to somebody better than the way you found it. Right? It's that kind of simple process or simple thought is we want these kids to come in and be better when they leave than when they got here. So when we start with that and they're the center of what we're doing, then it makes it really easy. We're going to take care of these kids. We're going to help them grow. We're going to help them along that baseball trajectory to get to the next level. We're going to be part of that solution, not just there. I think we actively want to be in there growing kids to where they are now prepared to go back for the next season. They're prepared a little bit better to get on to the next level. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we do. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of aspects, but the reality is we're going to continue to figure out and push how we can help create better athletes, better baseball players. And we're going to continue to do that. And I'm hoping that I think we're leading the charge on that because I don't know anybody else doing a physical or mental program to help these kids get better and more prepared. We'll continue to look for those kind of opportunities that make sense.
Can you guys talk about that technology that you were talking about a little bit?
Yeah, so we started 4 years ago. I think it was us and the Cape Cod League partnering with TrackMan, putting TrackMan systems in all of our stadiums, being able to get that data on everything from exit velocity to pitch velocity to the spin rotation and whatnot to have that access in real time, essentially, to be able to start to address the development of the player, take that next step from the analytical side, not just looking at their stats and how they did or whatever charts the assistant coaches and such are making, but be able to really see it and break it down, which not only allowed the kids to get better, allowed our teams to coach better in different situations. And then a year later, we expanded on that by adding a partnership with Synergy. For those not familiar with it, TrackMan is radar based. The Synergy is camera based. And so what they are able to do now is there's multiple camera angles at the plate and at the pitcher's mound that they're able to collect the video data and then pair it with the TrackMan analytical data. And you're able to go frame by frame, watching the motion as well as seeing, what their mechanics are, and has become very strong for us as far as developmental tools, but also partnering with Major League Baseball and their scouting departments, I think has really helped allow those athletes that choose the Coastal Plain League to get recognized and have their data across the Major League clubs, scouting bureaus, and go through the recognition process a little bit better in identifying who they need to go out and see during the spring, who they need to consider, who are those diamonds in the rough that sometimes get exposed during the summer versus not being there during the spring because of they may not be playing in a Power 5 conference, if you will, during the spring, but then they come to a Power 3 summer league that CPL is certainly a part of. So, I would say that's kind of the technological side of it, being able to stream our games as well and look at other ways that we can grow it from a technology standpoint is big.
When you guys are using these systems and you're looking at mechanics through TrackMan or through your system, I guess it's like a mocap system, kind of what you're talking about. Are you using this solely to give back to the coaches when they return in the fall or the major league teams, or are you making small adjustments? Because I know it's a little difficult to make adjustments in the middle of the summer when guys are playing ball. So with that technical data that you have, are you making adjustments? And if you are, how do you go about making adjustments with a player that won't affect his game when he's playing every night?
Very good question. So I would say it probably differs team to team, during the season because of the coaching staff. We have a few teams that are really analytical minded and take deep dives into that data. They'll have review sessions, if you will, in their coaches' offices with the players, and they'll bring them in and take a look. Obviously, any type of physical change to their game it's not going to be done without the recommendation of their college coaches, or at least the conversation with them to say and whatnot. We're not here to change where their motion is coming from. And I think that's, in all honesty, to your question earlier about, what do coaches look for with the CPL, I think that has been one of our strong points over the years, and where we are getting good talent is the reputation and how well we have taken care of the players.
So as the summer goes on, playing baseball does not make you stronger. It makes you weaker. It makes you tired. And if you don't supplement with strength training, we get that controlled fall we talk about, that by the time they come back, I have guys come back in August from summer ball, and they've got like 3 or 4 weeks before they got to go back to college. They come back in, they look like a deer that got lost in the woods. They're like 20 pounds light. I'm like, what happened to you, man? What? Yeah. They said, oh man, there was no gyms around. Strength training sucked. That's unacceptable. That's just unacceptable. And the reason I asked you about the data analytics is because we're very known for using mocap and analyzing mechanics. And I'm just, the wheels were turning now while you were talking. And I was thinking, wow, this can turn into a great thing where you guys need a quick analysis on a mocap, or a quick analysis on any data that you have on TrackMan or anything like that you want to get a second eyes on. You could send it right to us, and we can turn that around in one day, and bang, you can get actual analyzations on your data from us as a second opinion, which I think we never really talked about that. But as you were talking, I was like, this is fantastic. That can go right to the coach. Doesn't even have to be changed right now, but it can go right to the coach. Given that you're in several states, how do your teams get formed? Do the athletes pick their own teams? Are the coaches picking for them? Do you place them at the league? All of the above? How's this work?
So it's a combination, right? And no, we do not do anything at the league level. We do run this like a minor league baseball or a higher level baseball, where the coaches of those teams go out and find their players, and what happens over a long haul, if you're good and you're able to create an atmosphere that coaches like, the coaches will then send the next generation of players out to play with you, because they know the kids are going to be taken care of, right? It's a big trust thing, right? It's a big trust. Are you going to take care of the kids coming out to play baseball? And so if you can gain that trust, all of a sudden that just opens up, and you're going to get some great talent, some great kids coming out from great programs. And I think a lot of teams have been able to do that. And it's one of the coolest things to watch is these teams and coaches in particular get real excited about going out and finding the players, because they get to build this team, right? It's almost like
it's great.
It's like Christmas. You're like, oh, let's go out and get some players. Who are we going to get? This is going to be fantastic. And some of these things work out, some don't, but it's a lot of fun. If you're into baseball, you're into sports, and you're kind of in the strategy behind it, it's a lot of fun to go and do that. And I think, that a lot of these teams love that aspect of it.
I've been talking, like I said before, to a lot of the coaches that I know. I think it really makes them feel comfortable to maybe send their guys to a place where they know the strength training is going to be really, really great, because of the fact that it's missing so much. So from a player's standpoint, what should the player expect? What are the costs involved in the CPL? Are they housed? How does that work?
So there's no cost. We don't charge our players. We're actually one of the only summer leagues still out there that does not charge a player
Unbelievable.
fee.
That's unbelievable.
Yes, especially when you weigh in, once you get here and you see what's all put forth by the league and the teams for the players, and from the stadiums to the buses, charter buses, to the uniforms and equipment, are all top notch. So yeah, there's not that. There's we do work with the players to get them a host family in our markets, and their host families are our backbone. I'm always thanking them and patting them on the back, because without their help, we couldn't do what we do. But even those responsibilities, I mean, they're only supposed to be furnishing a room. Like, that's all your commitment is, and a place for them to bathroom access and place to wash their clothes, cook a meal. But they end up becoming, as you can guess, part of the family. Speaking of longevity, I remember my first year in the league, we had a scrawny, tall pitcher by the name of Justin Verlander.
Oh yeah,
and
that guy.
that guy. Yeah, he was. You could tell Nunzio he had the potential. It's one of those where he was given the gift, but he had to harness it. And that's the really cool thing, not only with sports but also with baseball. It's because of its farm system. You're able to take this player and start to really mold them and get your hands on them. And so anyway, to this day, to my knowledge, Verlander still stays in touch with his host family from back in 2002.
That's awesome.
I have similar examples. Russell Wilson, that played the quarterback of the Denver Broncos, played in our league, and when he was with the Seahawks and made his first Super Bowl, he flew his host family up from Gastonia, North Carolina, to the Super Bowl. All those kind of things that you hear, even the ones that are, while those are big names, I mean, everybody, you get them and they go, and the host family will find them on the road during the spring and go watch some games. They'll make a vacation out of it. That's a really cool kind of thing. But yeah, no, there's no fees. We feed the players post-game meals through restaurants and such in each area. They travel on charter buses. They're staying in nice hotels when needed, housing host families. I think it was Perfect Game or some Ballpark Digest, and one of them that ranked us as the most popular social media league in the country, viral league in the country. And we like to have fun. We like to imagine, okay, in anything that you do, part of that development process, in my opinion, is wearing the hat of that individual you're trying to reach. Imagine yourself in today's world as an 18, 19, 20-year-old college baseball player. What do they want? What do they need? What are they after? The days of, and this is part of where I think ultimately our league is going to take over, is the loyalty, so to speak, to the blue bloods, if you will, or going where your grandfather and great grandfather played or whatever, versus what you can get now is different. You've got the transfer portal, you've got NIL. How can we grow the NIL to be a beneficial tool in our toolbox? No different than strength training and mental training and everything else. But to be able to come in and play in a high quality league, most of our teams have on average 5 to 7 different uniforms they wear. With some of them are one-offs and whatnot, but you think about that. I remember growing up and watching Oregon Ducks in football, where that first team that really took it in Maryland with Under Armour and their partnership, where they had multiple uniforms. They almost had a different uniform every game they played. And there's some of our teams that'll have 10 or 11 different uniforms over the course of the season. That's cool for a kid. That's something that's neat. They get to be a part of. They're not wearing the same old. So quality, but also quantity. So really kind of looking at that and how we can continue to hold ourselves under a microscope and grow big. You can never be satisfied with it. You got to continue. We always have room to grow. And I think that's something that for somebody with me and Chip, what I love about, I think, our partnership is as you mentioned earlier, I've been with the league for so many years. I know the inner workings. I know it like the back of my hand. And there's things that I see that we need to grow and do in ways to get better. But then Chip, from an outside view coming in, sees things maybe differently. And, being able to pair that up with a captain and co-captain type approach to really create the monster that we want this league to be.
While you guys were talking about 15 minutes ago, I wrote this down. When I first spoke to you guys, I told my partner, these guys have the perfect blend of baseball and business. And that's really, really important. So for the listeners out there, it's really important to get affiliated with a league that, has a strong infrastructure. And when I was listening to Justin speak the first time when we were talking about this partnership, I was saying, wow, this guy is an in the trenches guy. And then I heard Chip speak, and it's not much unlike my business. Bahram is he has a degree in business from Columbia. You know what I mean? He's a business guy. He knows nothing about working out. But you know what? He fills in the blanks. And that's what I see with you guys. I see a really strong core because you guys fill in each other's blanks. And I really respect that. And I think it's really important for people to realize that this is not only a baseball team league that's been around for a while, it's got a really good business head behind it in Chip. So kudos to you guys for that. Chip, you guys are currently 14 teams in 4 states. Any expansion plans?
So before I answer that, I want to go back because part of that equation is it is a business side. There's business, there's baseball, all that comes together. But one of the things by doing these number of uniforms and not charging kids to play in the league,
which is unbelievable, by the way. Unbelievable.
It's because we get great crowds, right? You have a business model that can help sustain all of this and make money while the kids don't have to pay into it. Now they can pay for certain services, they can help enhance and all of that. But to come out and play, we just want the best players. They're going to get the exposure, and you're going to play in front of phenomenal crowds. And to go into your next question was last night we were down in Greenville, North Carolina, pitching to the city council to add a team to Greenville, where ECU plays, in that town. But I was pitching. We're averaging 1250 a game, and that includes Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right? I mean,
right.
Our challenge is to build stadiums and find stadiums large enough to hold those crowds that want to come out. I mean, I was serious when I said it's about the community. It's about that business side of it is about entrenching yourself in there and creating something that is special for that area.
People can't underestimate the importance of a college athlete playing in front of a crowd, because when he goes back, it builds swagger that is incredible. I've seen it.
There's a lot of leagues that don't have that. They're not fortunate enough to have. They haven't built
100%
made that a priority. Kids want to play in front of crowds. Nobody wants to play in a high school field with nobody watching. It's just not exciting. You love that moment. You love cheering crowds. That's part of that experience. Scouts, crowds, different swag, different uniforms. There's a lot of things, and some are more important to some kids than others, but all of those come into a factor to make it where you want to be. And where, and if we are now adding to it to say, when you leave here, you have the opportunity to be stronger mentally and physically than when you got here. And all of a sudden, man, that's an unbelievable combination of athletes getting better, playing in front of crowds, the community's behind you because it's a great place to go and be part of. It's just, that's why I say the best way to describe it, if you've been in baseball, you've been around baseball, and you understand what minor league baseball used to be 3 decades ago, where it was phenomenal on-field performance. It was unbelievable stuff in the stands. The entertainment was second to none, and you got community oriented. I mean, and it was fun. It's fun. Baseball's supposed to be fun. You work hard from a player standpoint to get to the next level, but if you're not having fun, you're not going to the next level.
Forget it.
Right? If you don't have that passion and it's not enjoyable, what's the point? Right?
Yeah.
Any job, is that way. So creating this atmosphere where it's fun for everybody, this outstanding experience for everybody, that's how we win. And if scouts want to be a part of it, scouts are going to come down. I mean, scouts are going to find the talent, right? They're going to see the numbers. They're going to find the talent. You hear that a lot, where it's kind of harder to hide, but that's why it's so easy. They'll find you. Particularly when you come to this league, because they're going to be here watching kids play. The scouts are. The fans are going to get into it. The host families get into it. The communities get into it. All of a sudden, you're not just a baseball player, but you're a big part of that town for that summer. This is a summer. This could be the summer of your life, where you advance your career, you get better, you've made great friends, and you're just part of a community. We've seen it a lot of times how that works out. But expansion, for cities that make sense, where we can go in and get a capacity ballpark. We want to have at least 1,500 seats. We'd really rather have 2,000 plus seats, so we can get the people in there. And some communities it's a little bit easier than others. Some are more willing to put in the money than others. But the reality is it has to make sense in our footprint. Travel is, in summer ball, it's a big part of what happens. And although, if you go to the minors, you're going to be spending 4, 6, 8 hours on a bus. We don't want to do that. So we want much smaller travel areas. I mean, that's the one thing that Cape Cod does really well is they've got small travel areas. But then, it's a good thing. So we look at that. And we said, well, how can we minimize the travel? Where can we put teams in cities that are big enough that will be just ecstatic to have this team, that we can, grow the sport, part of that process of the baseball pipeline, and make it a success. So they're not on the road as much, but then they also have the opportunity to go and play other teams like the Macon Bacon. If you're up in Virginia, you don't always want to play Macon because that's a long ride, but you still get that opportunity to go down there and kind of have that trip and play different teams, play great talent, throughout the league, top to bottom. So yeah, we'll continue to grow. We'll look for places that make sense. And Greenville was a big win. I think that's a baseball crazy community that has, as a matter of fact, when we were down there, one of the first people we met with was a gentleman named by Ronald Vincent, RV. Everybody calls him RV. Matter of fact, he just won his 1,000th game as Rose High School head coach, and he coaches the Babe Ruth. And so we met with him because he is he is the baseball part of that community. And it was
That's great.
fascinating to talk to him. He's excited to have the team. We're excited to work with him, and how can we develop the players and I like those kind of relationships because it matters. It matters to that community. It matters to the players that come through. And we're excited about those kind of opportunities.
We've been talking to Commissioner Chip Allen and Deputy Commissioner Justin Sellers from the Coastal Plain League. Guys, what you're doing, and that was not a loaded question. When you just told me that it costs nothing to play in the CPL league, kudos to you guys. That just blew my mind because I know how much you guys and how much work you guys and what you offer. And now with the addition of the strength training from RPP, you're creating this really, really long-term athletic development over the course of a summer for these guys. And from talking to coaches, that is something that is in desperate need. Can't just talk about pitching. We can't just talk about strength training. We got to kind of work on the whole thing. I think you guys are doing a really, really unbelievable job. To anybody listening out there, really check these guys out. I know firsthand we would not get involved with anybody that we didn't think were top notch and are really integrity based. And these guys are very integrity based, and that's really important to me. So thanks, guys, for being on.
Hey, thanks for having us. This is great.
I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing some games. I'm going to grab my dog. I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to make I think it's 9.5 hours from my gym down to North Carolina. So I'm going to make that trip down. And how can guys reach you on social media?
Social media handles at CPL Baseball. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and then our website, www.coastalplain.com, PLAIN, for those listening, coastalplain.com. Look forward to invite anybody to the ballparks, and any players listening out there, feel free to reach out to us. We do have a player application off of our website that you can submit, and we can furnish that out to our coaches pretty quickly. Obviously rosters are full now, but never know. And then looking towards 2024, go ahead and get them in now, because we do have a long waiting list of people trying to get into the door. We appreciate it, Nuncio. Appreciate what you and Brom do, and are looking forward to this partnership.
Yeah, man. So guys, I encourage you to get in touch with these guys if you're looking to play for summer ball, because they're also including strength training from our place that people rent apartments in the summertime to come here and live here all summer to get the strength training that they're going to be offering to their guys while they're playing summer ball. And that is huge. For me, you can reach me at Nunzio Signore on Twitter. You can reach the facility at RPP_baseball on Twitter and Instagram. Our website is rocklandpeakperformance.com. And for you guys that don't know, I have a book out on velocity-based training, how to apply science, technology, and data to maximize performance. You can get it on Amazon. It's released by Human Kinetics. We've been talking to the Coastal Plain League Commissioner Chip Allen and Deputy Commissioner Justin Sellers. Guys, thanks for being on. We'll see you on the next Behind the Seams podcast. Have a great day.